Welcome to the show. Here we are, flipping over the sands of time. We are ready to rock. Another fun week.
Another great week. I have a question for you, though. Okay, before we get into this.
Is it about baseball?
No.
I have a hard time answering.
So here's where I'm at, right? I think
Ending sentences with prepositions?
Yep. I think one of the hardest concepts for me in Christianity is the Trinity.
Trinitarian, okay.
Okay. Because obviously I get the Father and the Son, right? Like that makes sense, right? You know, God and Jesus. But then you've got this third, the Holy Spirit, right? Okay.
Three in one.
And then to top it off, they're all the same, but they're different, right? Okay. And I can't remember who said it. I feel like it was a pope. I can't remember which pope.
Man, if we were going to talk about this, I could have done some research.
Some tacos. We're going to taco about it. There was a pope that said that, you know, he's like, I could try to study, you know, the Holy Trinity my entire life, and I probably still wouldn't grasp fully the concept of it.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
You know what I mean? Because I think a lot of it is stuff that hasn't really been revealed to us either, right? Like, you know, and so this is the kind of the concept of the question that I've got, right? I believe, or I, think, so we'll see if you feel the same way, that God is slowly revealing himself to us through a pattern, right?
Okay. Yes.
And so there are some concepts that we may never fully understand until it's revealed to us completely. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think if you want to take a big historical approach, right? There were God's chosen people pre-existed the incarnation of Christ, like fully human here. So yeah, like they don't have the history and context of post crucifixion and resurrection that we have.
Right.
So yes, I think that right there can prove the fact that the continual revelation of God's plan is always at work, and we're just a blip in time on that timeline.
A very small blip.
So yeah, fully agree. And I am fortunate enough to be to have the personality type that doesn't need to know everything. Right?
This is true.
So
this is true.
Yeah.
You are that personality.
I am
type.
that. I am
not that personality.
I know.
Type.
So
I'm like the complete opposite.
You have to.
I have to know, and I have to understand it.
I think it's because you're way smarter than me.
I don't think that's.
But
accurate.
if I was smarter, maybe I would be less.
Are we talking about knowledge, or are we talking about intelligence?
Yes.
Well, because knowledge and intelligence are two different things. Intelligence is the aptitude to learn. It's how easy things come to you, right? So intelligence is really about the aptitude of learning. Knowledge is the accumulation of
and I'm saying it's
knowledge.
I'm saying it's a both hand. I'm trying to give you a compliment.
I'm just saying I think you're very knowledgeable about things that I'm not knowledgeable about.
Yeah, I'm just saying your intelligence.
Oh, well, thank you.
Makes you seek the truth in a tangible way that it can be obtained, even to the extent of fully understanding God.
Now, I have a question for you now, in talking about that, do you feel, though, so like when something happens or like you don't know something, right? Do you weigh whether or not you care about knowing that? And then if you don't care, you're like, I don't need to know that, right? Or because me, that doesn't happen. Like I know nothing about carpentry. Nothing. Like next to nothing.
Yeah.
But like when I watch a TV show and they got like a big chunk of wood and they got, and it's like the Mona Lisa or something, right? In 3D. I'm like, I could figure that out. and if I devoted time and energy to it, I could figure it out. But I don't care about wood sculpting. But like it fascinates me, and there's a moment where I'm like, I could learn how to do that, right? Or would you look at that and go, I don't, that's
No.
cool, but I don't need to know that because I have no interest in it.
Well, it's not that I have no interest. It's whenever do I have a need for that skill, that knowledge? Can it meet a real need that I'm experiencing? Right?
Mm-hmm. But if you need a new deck, you've never done a deck before,
Yeah.
you're kind of like, I could probably do my own deck. Let me learn. Watch some videos, read some books, and then
Yes.
build the deck.
Exactly. 100%.
Okay.
But I would not study in-depth deck building post the building of that deck or ever if I didn't have the need to build the deck.
Interesting.
You with me?
I'm with you.
I love baseball. You know that.
Yeah.
Thought we'd take
Yeah.
the conversation that way, playing a little ball myself.
Yeah.
And now I have a real need to better identify the delivery of a curveball to try to hit it.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, if all you do is just go watch baseball games, it could be neat to be able to identify the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand as a particular,
Or like newer techniques
as a particular pitch, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you can sit there at the Royals game, and be like, "Oh, did you see that when he delivered, I knew it was a break." That could be neat to learn, but it's imperative to know as the batter.
Yep.
So I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I would.
You
Be
want
the
to know.
opposite.
You
I just
want to
wanna
know.
know.
You just want to know,
I just wanna
regardless.
know, regardless of what it is. There really hasn't been very much stuff that's come up that I don't
don't want to
wouldn't
figure
be
it
like,
out.
ooh, I want to figure that out, right? Like I'm not musically inclined in any way, shape, or form. But like when somebody plays, as I say, the guitar,
Oh yeah. I don't.
Then
How else would you say that?
I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I could figure out how to play the guitar. You know, when somebody plays the piano, I'm like, I need to go learn how to play the piano.
Yeah, and I'm like, not near that. Like, Kevin at church, our bassist, right?
Really good basis.
Phenomenal bassist. He's got this bass that's got, 50% more strings than it should. I think that's mathematically
I
correct.
think it's a
Right.
6-string
Yeah.
instead of a 4-string.
Yep.
Okay.
I have no interest in like trying to be able to do what he can do right on
Yeah,
that.
sure.
But at the same time, I want to, like, I have to restrain myself because I'm like, Kevin, can I? And
Boing.
boing. I just want to, I want to personally manipulate
Yeah.
one of the strings
Want it
to make the
sound,
noise,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
maybe it's like, maybe I'm just like, it's like really like base animal instinct to be like,
I thought you were going to say animal from like the Muppets.
yeah, just like this. Like I think that just speaks through me, like this curious instinct of man, that like a piano, like I want to sit down at one and be like ding ding, but
In a busy airport, when
Yeah.
you have the lonely piano, you're like ding 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 ding, and security guard's like, knock it off. Yes. So I want to talk about this. This brings up a good point, which is talents.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And there's a little more in line with our podcast.
well, hey,
message
we're
for
on
the day.
All right. What kind of talent you talking about? Sacks of gold or
No, we're talking talents like
Gifts.
gifts, right? Gifts and talents. So some would say my natural curiosity is a talent, right?
Or a
gift,
or a curse.
or a curse. Could be both. So yeah, I find this subject fascinating a little bit. That so we believe that God gives us gifts. Mm-hmm. All of our gifts are unique and different, even though me and somebody else might be this similar personality types. Our gifts could be wildly different, right? And part of our journey is identifying those gifts and then using them, honing in on them, being skillful with them, and then using them. So how do you find your gift? Like I mean, I know my gifts, right? And I understand that. And for me, it took a long time to kind of, they were always there, right? Like, and it took a long time to make the connection,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think
What's
that's
up with that?
well. I think you have to be in tune to the fact that your gifts and skills that you're, I would say, naturally endowed with by your Creator, and then your gifts and skills that have been developed through the discipleship process, being living into the Holy Spirit's impact on your life, and identifying where it's like we identify that discipleship of putting those gifts and talents and skills to work in for the sake of others, right? So when you start selflessly using what you're gifted and talented in to help and improve someone else's life, condition, situation, understanding, to draw them closer to a relationship you've discovered or you've been able to participate in with God, is where I think that falls into that discipleship category.
Yeah.
So that's why it is a growing. I think everyone has unique gifts and talents and skills, and a lot of people never achieve that potential of what those gifts, talents, and skills can do for the world around them, because they don't use them for the sake of others.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, that's my Christian perspective on.
Yep. So I would say probably one of your gifts that, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, is we've talked about this before. Sometimes you have this like emotional spidey sense.
Ooh,
right?
And using our strengths talk, it falls under empathy.
Empathy. Empathy would be the classification. If
Would
you
be the
wanna talk about it.
classification.
But it's beyond empathy, right?
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, got that one wrong. I'm not
empathetic.
And I get farther into it, and it's like, the key traits is like you inherently sense the emotions of others. Mm-hmm. And, I thought like, yeah, that's
Doesn't everybody?
That's called being human, right?
But no, not everybody does it,
it's
yeah.
at different levels. I think that's the cool thing about some of the strength stuff is when you identify how they're so natural and a building block of who you are, that when you realize everyone else doesn't function. It's so natural for you and always been there.
Yeah, and just to clarify for other people, so we do Clifton's strength-based program.
Gallup
Strength. Now,
Strength.
sorry, Clifton started it. Now it's in Gallup. Apologies, Gallup. So they have this test that you take. It's like 200 questions, and it's like, would you rather be doing this or this, right? And you go one, yes, no, yeah, this in between, could care less. And then it has 34 different talents or strengths that they kind of rank you. So you usually get your top 5 talents. Those are the most impactful to you, and then it goes down. And so one of yours is empathy, which is what we're talking about when we talk about strength.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what we're talking about. So,
and then we also, another, since we're talking about spiritual gifts, through our United Methodist Church conference, I couldn't tell you exactly where to find it, but there is on the website, there's a spiritual gifts inventory where it's a similar assessment where you answer these questions, you go through there, and kind of helps you identify some of your spiritual gift stuff. My highest was hospitality.
Hospitality.
You know what my lowest was, Keith?
Technology.
Music.
Music. Oh, I should have guessed
I
that
have
one.
no tune carrying.
I love music.
I have
just
one
don't
note.
have the
You're
ability
hearing
to.
it right now.
I have 2 notes: screechy and not screechy. Yeah,
Lovely.
that's when when the high parts come on, I feel like I can sing them, so I get screechy, as my wife says. I don't know. Sounds good to me.
So
head.
in your talents and skills, where's an area where you felt that you've been able to use that maybe like the early part of your life, these talents and skills were always there, but now as you've matured in your faith, you're actually putting them to use in a way that's kingdom building.
Yeah, and I'll kind of relate it back to Gallup's strength as well. So my top strength is deliberative, right? And a deliberative person, you could kind of guess, but we do things deliberatively. But as part of that is we think through. So if you have a problem or you have you want to do something or whatever, you tend to start thinking through all the outcomes. And you look for pitfalls and, maybe if I did this, then this might happen. So maybe we won't do this, we'll do this or whatever. Right. And it's always been there, right? Like, it's always been innate in in my system. But like being able to, and when I took it the first time, when I took back when it was Clifton, and I took it the first time, deliberative popped up and I read it and go, yeah, that's me. But we, in back then we didn't do anything with it. We were just like, this is your strength. Okay, great. That sounds wonderful. I don't know. But now I realize that it helps me daily in terms of, my job here at the church, but also, within our small group and within our life and all that other kind of stuff, because I can see kind of the pitfalls of doing something a certain way, and I can be like, hey, maybe we should do it this way or that way or whatever. And I think that when situations arise that other people find stressful, my deliberative kicks in, and that actually, because it's a strength, I'm not stressed out by it. Right? So, like if you came into church and none of the lights worked, right? Like you might be stressed out because you're like, oh, people are showing up here soon. We have no lights. But see, in me, that's an opportunity for me to figure out what's wrong. So it's a little bit of the deliberative part. But yeah, I think it's like, I can't really, and just like your emotional spidey sense, right? You can't necessarily pinpoint one or two great examples of when you're like, oh. But it's just constantly going. It's constantly going.
Yeah, you can't shut it off.
You can't shut it off. So I think that's something for me personally that does well. I think some people would explode if they, had to do, just like like mine would explode if they had to think through everything. They're just like, oh, I don't know, I'm hungry. Let's go get a burger. Well, I think about, I don't know, what kind of burger? Where should we go? Is there any dietary restrictions of the people around?
Well, I, like the empathy thing, for me, I think it's nice. It was liberating to understand that, as, for conversation, like being available to conversate and just being available for people to emotionally
Discharge.
Yeah. And recognizing that I have that not everyone has that. So if people want to share or they don't always have that opportunity, so I can be that for people. I mean, recognizing that's a pretty cool that you kind of got to go with it, that gut instinct. Sometimes
Yeah.
you just have to ask people, like,
Yeah.
hey, you doing all right?
Yeah. See, I think
And then
what's interesting
recognizing
about that,
that could take another hour. But
imagine if you had that empathy, right? But you also didn't like people, or didn't like to talk to them,
Yeah.
or like, you weren't a good listener, like whatever, right? Like,
I'm probably not a good listener.
no, you're probably not.
I mean,
But people think you are.
I need to be a better listener.
I think we all can be better listeners.
Let's try it right now. You try to listen.
Let's just listen. That'll be the most boring podcast ever.
I mean, we listened to all the comments from our viewers.
Yeah, that's true.
Every one of them.
Every single one of them so far.
We respond.
We responded to every single comment so
Immediately.
far. Immediately. Instantaneously. Anyway, so talents, gifts, right, are given by the Holy Spirit, right? Which is, and then that Holy Spirit then helps guide us through developing those talents and using them not to help yourself, but to help
And
others.
I think that's where a lot of discernment comes in, that's where we have to, as spiritual beings, listen and be open to being pushed and pulled and directed by the Holy Spirit. And I think that's probably the hardest part for any of us, especially for doers or achievers or folks that very results based. Really hard because it can feel very unproductive.
Yeah.
Very unproductive to be in that stasis of listening, opening yourself up for that direction and guidance.
Well, and I think some of it's timing too, right? Like you may want an answer now, but you don't get one now. And so that can be frustrating for a lot of people. And I would also say, for me personally, one of the other more frustrating parts of it is trying to identify in the moment when you're getting that push or that pull, right? Whether it's your own personal anxiety, right, about something that's making you want to go in a direction, right, versus really kind of slowing down, pausing, releasing some of that emotional tension, and then seeking guidance at that point.
And I think, and I don't know if it's this way with you, but I like to think that Christ and Holy Spirit, God, they have this. They recognize my infantileness, and like they're fully aware of the extra, the little extra I need sometimes to like get
They
it,
just slap you
to
upside
like
the head
get
with it.
no, like it's like this, like like some people be like, man, I just felt the movement of the Holy Spirit, and this is what I needed to do, and this is what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
and they're just so
I'm so jealous of those
so
people.
confident and going, and and I'd be like, it's kind of feeling, and then so and so said something, and then a week later somebody else said something to me,
Yeah.
and then 2 weeks after that I got this third right, and like the Holy Spirit's sending people to like
Bro.
slap me upside the back of the head, but excuse me, hey,
Yeah.
hey McFly.
So my story with that, I'm with you. So the reason why we're at this church, so
Who's we?
my family, right? Okay, is that when the traditional thing that happens, which is you kind of grow up in the church a little bit, you get out on your own in college, you get like post college, and then you got your life super busy, so you just kind of put church to the side, right, for whatever reason. And so for a long time, my wife and I were saying like, hey, we should get back into it, right? And I mean, for like a couple years, we were talking about it, right? And I'd be driving. I was doing a job that was a lot of commute, and I'd be driving. I'd be thinking about, man, we should really go to church. Well, maybe we'll do that this Sunday, and then I would just forget about it, right? Okay. So one night I'm sitting at home. My wife is. I can't remember if she was. I think she was bowling. She was in a bowling league at the time, so she was bowling. Kids are asleep, and I'm sitting there. It's nice and quiet. Just got the kids to bed, and I'm like, man, we should really think about going to church. And on the TV was a commercial for instantaneous
on the television
for a United Methodist church, and it was like kids talking about the meaning of Christmas or something like that, because it was right around. Right around Christmas. It was like right before Christmas or something. And it was kids talking about the meaning of Christmas, and it was like a 20-second. It was like a cute thing, and it was like, brought to you by the United Methodist Church. Well, I grew up Methodist, right?
Okay.
So for me, it was like God slapping me upside the head and being like, bro, there you go, right? Never saw the commercial again, ever. Just saw it the one time, never seen it again. I forget what channel. It was the channel we always watch, right? Never saw it again. Later, a couple months later, I was like, did I really see that? So I looked it up on YouTube. It actually
does
exists.
exist.
It does exist. And so, I picked up my phone and I was like, okay, United Methodist Churches in Kearney. Oh, there's one.
Hey.
Okay. And then I texted my wife and was like, hey, Sunday, we're going here. And that was it. So I agree with you. Sometimes it's like, sometimes the subtlety is nice, but then sometimes it's just like a big old like smack upside your head. Like, now's the time.
Yeah. And when you're in tune to it, I would like to encourage folks out there as, if you feel compelled to share something with somebody, like,
Yes, sorry. I'm sorry. I was waiting for the "don't do it on a podcast" where everybody can can hear
so,
it. No, sorry.
Anyway, there's a bit of a intervention. We're open the doors here, and we have all these family and friends of Keith come in and surround him because we want to talk about it.
Let's talk
Okay.
about it. If you feel the need to share something, is where you were starting.
Yeah, I feel drawn to share something. Share something. But think about it, because it may not be the Holy Spirit. You may just process that a little bit.
Well, I would tell you.
Is it for the sake of others?
I would tell you. Well, I don't know. How's the story so far? That's what I would say. Is think about how's the story. How's it working out, right? So if something happens in your life, and you think to yourself like, oh, is this the Holy Spirit talking to me or not?
Is this providential?
Look at the outcome from it, right? If you then go do it, look at the story and see, because I don't think that many things are an instantaneous result either, right? So
and the potential. I'm a positive guy, so
yeah.
When things are a mess right now, that could just be part of the process.
Exactly. And so you've got to look. I think you've got to look long term with a lot of the decisions. If you're really praying about saying a job change or something like that, right? And you're like, I really think that God, the Holy Spirit, is telling me to move cross country and take this other job. Okay, don't judge it within the first week of being there, right? Like there's a lot of trauma of like moving across country and stuff. You got to give it time. Right? You got to give it time to see how it works out or whatever. And that would be my advice.
And I'm probably not a great one to ask, because one of my strengths is positivity.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't think you have that.
No, it's one of my least. Actually, you know what my lowest one has always been? Well, the bottom two flip. Empathy.
Okay.
And woo.
And
woo is winning others over. Which is the ability that people just naturally are drawn to you and like you, but then it shapes who you are, because you kind of crave people liking you. You want people to like you at the same time. So I'm not saying that you would be disingenuous in your character to try to get people to like you, but it's really about that interaction with others that matters to you, not the most, but high. mine's low.
Yeah.
So.
Well, for somebody who has the old woo a little higher in their spectrum, I wish they could have named it something less ridiculous.
Why? I think it's perfect.
You think it's accurate?
I think it's highly accurate.
I think it's ridiculous.
Winning others over. Woo. Woo. Woohoo. Look at that.
Man, woohoo!
Woohoo. We
Sands
are
of
out
time.
of time.
So, moral of the story for the week: to hear the Holy Spirit, you have to listen, and
A lot.
yeah, and generally, it's gonna stretch you and grow you in a way that is for others,
Yeah.
and in turn, can often be good for you.
Well, I would argue that it is good for you if it's good for others.
I would too.
All right.
Hey, this was kind of fun.
That was a good one. We did all right.
All right.
We'll see you next week.
Have a good one, guys.
See ya.